vibes that I love, some songs that I listen to on the regular.
Boundary-pushing hip-hop and R&B from around the globe. Music and Culture by Drake.
I always say it's so much deeper than music.
On his exclusive Sirius XM channel.
The one and only Sound 42.
To hear Sound 42, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
SiriusXM, we want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Had just begun.
Big, Pac, Dre, and Jay were taking hip-hop to a whole new level.
It was all a dream. And everything was fly.
Sirius XM Fly.
A channel featuring hip-hop and R&B from the 90s and 2000s.
Throw it back now on Channel 50
and the Sirius XM app.
When you're a SiriusXM subscriber, you've got access to commercial-free music, channels from almost every genre, and channels created in conjunction with the biggest names in music. Eminem's Shade 45, Pearl Jam Radio, Bruce Springsteen's E Street Radio, and more. Visit www.siriusxm.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and start listening now.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I told people I've been nominated as the neighborhood spokesperson. People don't like it when it's 3 in the morning. And I do, because I couldn't sleep last night. I couldn't sleep at all last night. I guess that's what happened when you have chocolate and coffee. I thought I was having chocolate and wine. All's fair in love and war, but it's been a challenge today. But I got my equilibrium getting better. All's fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord split you. It's while I'm driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. It's actually beautiful. May 3rd, 2024. We have the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby, and those horses don't get paid, but they do get some votes. At the same time, we also have some NBA playoff basketball tonight. We have Cleveland and Orlando. We also have the Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks, those good old boys. And I'm hearing they have a hit in the giddy up. Some good old boys for the Clippers may not be playing tonight, so it looks like Dallas may take this game. And I think Cleveland will beat Orlando. Just my opinion, all fan level war. But I want to say I wish the very best for all the NBA teams. And I know the New York Knicks last night, they eliminated the Philadelphia 76ers. It was a great game, went right down to the wire. But New York, I predicted New York would get in there. And so now they move on to the next round. And, all's fair in love and war. Got some good NBA basketball tomorrow. The great series that a lot of people are anticipating. You have the defending NBA champion, Denver Nuggets, and they will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Big Cat versus the Joker. Can't wait to see that. And at the same time, we have so much to watch for sports this weekend. If you like golf, that's good too. Nothing wrong with the golf, especially when you're out there on the links. But I do want to say what I love with Big C Sports Podcast is I produce the show, I direct the topics, I broadcast all the shows, and I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We can all use my laughter. I know I can use my laughter, especially after whatever I ate. It kept me kind of loopy, all fair and love and war. At the same time, the commercials are done, the stats are provided, the storytelling, I even do the play-by-play. I love saying, oh my goodness, when you think about this game, Jamal Murray for 3, yes, get in the hole in your life. The Big Cat for 3, yes, get in the hole in your life. Luka Doncic for 3, yes, get in the hole in your life. I think there's a lot of good basketball to be played over the weekend, and I think the Kentucky Derby, it doesn't last as long as an NBA game. It might be more exciting for 3 minutes, if that makes sense to you. But at the same time, the show's uploaded to 29 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms. And then I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. All fair and level, I really do appreciate that. Something else that I appreciate doing, I think a lot of people are doing it now. I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. If you know anybody going through issues, they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on, especially our veterans. They do so much to make sure that we have our freedom, and sometimes we take freedom for granted, but I don't want to ever take freedom for granted as we rise and shine every day on the Big C Sports Podcast. All fair and level war. I want to say I got a lot of stuff to cover today, and I had some great conversations this morning on a reparations show. It was an impromptu call-in, and Reverend Tony Pierce alerted me to it, the president and CEO of National Black Wall Street Project. So he sent me the call-in, so I was able to listen to it this morning, and it's interesting how more and more people are putting pen to paper. Like 00 said, put the pen in the paper. We can all march, we can dance, shout, and scream, but pen to paper is how things get done in this country. We are a nation of laws, and we have to have people who can put the pen to paper. And I want to give that some praise for the call that I was invited to this morning. I really do appreciate that. At the same time, I want to make sure that I bring in the appreciation for the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and we don't want to waste our minds. Nobody wants to waste their mind. But there's a lot of good things happening in this country when it comes to reparations, and people who actually have the pen to the paper. Maybe today's show could be called The Pen to the Paper. When you put pen to paper, oftentimes laws can get passed. It doesn't take everyone to believe. It just takes someone to put pen to paper, and that's how things get done. So before I get into some sports today, I'm going to pull myself up by my own bootstraps, because that's how I feel today. I kind of feel like crap, but I don't stop, because I was told you rise and shine anyway, and I'm going to keep rising and shining anyway, no matter how I feel. I think what I'll do next time is I'll make sure that I read the labels of whatever I eat. Oh, it's very level word. Everybody has their own thing. I'm a little bit loopy today, but that's all right too. But I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. The chair, Camila Moore, an attorney that specializes in reparative justice. I love giving her praise. Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He is a great man. I had him on the Big C Sports podcast last month. I really love giving him praise. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Met with him several times at his office and also at Reparations Task Force meetings. And then Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to our attorney, Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to our attorney, Donald K. Tamaki. He's brilliant, part of the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to, you give them all praise. We all deserve it. We all need somebody to lean on, especially when you know people have your back. And I want people to look at the NationalBlackWallStreetProject.com. That's NationalBlackWallStreetProject.com, NationalBlackWallStreetProject.com. And you can register for free and find out what we're doing to help enhance economic development and awareness. I really do appreciate that. I also want to give some praise to Double O. She has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. It's on Access Sacramento, and you can Google that. It's a really good program on economics awareness. Let's eat. It's all time to eat, if that makes sense to you. I also want to thank so many people. Brother Aleem Shabazz, who owns the Crescent Sports Media. He actually filmed the last California Reparations Task Force meeting at the Secretary of State building, and Dr. Shirley Weber spoke. A lot of people spoke at that meeting. Really do appreciate him, and I love giving him praise. I want to say I'm working on some things that, to me, it makes a big difference in life and how we do things in life. Whether you're going touchdown, home run, three-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way. A lot of times we get so hoodwinked in sports, and there's nothing wrong with getting hoodwinked in sports, because sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry, and it brings a lot of people together. So I love doing that. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I do more than just one thing. I love sports, and I love talking about it. I just told you about some NBA, the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. There's also some golf out there somewhere, and then there are hills, and then NBA playoffs. But I'm working on a commercial, and you never get it right. Or do you? I'm always trying to be a perfectionist. Even though I don't feel the best, I'm going to do my best to do this show, and when I do my commercials, I don't do 29 takes. You only get one shot. I think Ice Cube sang a song about that. That wasn't Ice Cube, that was Eminem, Big C. Okay, but they said the same thing. They sung the same song. So my choice in telling you, and I hope I do a good job, because if you knew how I feel, sometimes people say, man, you don't look so good. That's because I feel like crap. But I'm going to keep going, even if I feel like crap. It's all fair, love, and war. I want to say a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and George Jones, the law office of George Jones, The Missing Link, Long-Term Care Solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. Medi-Cal is what it's called in California. And your spouse and family can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options. Our promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. And as I say, we specialize to navigate and maximize your long-term care benefits. Are you talking about Aflac? No, Aflac's the duck. That's what I ate the other day, and I think it made me a little bit woozy. But I ate it anyway, because it tastes. I shouldn't have eaten all the duck. I should have made sure I didn't eat what I didn't want to eat. But all strand level war. But we don't eat ducks. We order ducks with the RDC team. And all paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. You know anyone that's ever dealt with skilled nursing facilities? You know anyone who's ever dealt with prescriptions? Do you know anyone who's ever dealt with medical equipment costs and more? Like that Pepto-Bismol that I was swallowing down today, trying to get my belly to feel better. I said, get in my belly. and hopefully it's going to start kicking in soon, if that makes sense to you. Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Give that some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. I'm not done yet. Not only that, asset protection. In conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones, protection insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid, and attendance. What about fixed assets, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Your bank account, your checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. What about variable assets? I'm glad you asked. Real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, and other investments, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. Also avoid capital gains over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. Oh, Big C, my insurance covers everything. That's not necessarily true. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. You can call and find out. Give me some praise. I think I did it all without messing up one time. So Pepto-Bismol, that stuff works. I think it works. Oh, Fran Livermore. But I gotta tell you, I don't feel the best, but I don't make excuses. I'm just keeping it real. You can rise and shine no matter how you feel. I'm gonna keep doing my thing because that's what God told me to do as I rise and shine. And when people say, yeah, you have some endorsements, Big C, and you have some great people that are backing what you're doing with the Big C team and RDC, but do you have anybody else that stands behind what you guys are doing to help people protect their assets? I'm gonna say yes. I'm glad you asked. Because, and not only that, we have the endorsements of Mr. George Jones, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce and California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We also have the endorsement of Attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top attorneys in California. We have Mr. Leon Woods, resource development consultant, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. Also, Miss Cheryl Brown, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consultant, has the endorsement of the late CalPERS Chief Counsel Legal Mind, the late Robert Carlson. He endorsed the Big C team. Also, Mr. Alex De La Cruz, founder of American Veteran Benefits. He endorses the RDC team, and I want to give that some praise. I say give it praise, 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 because we all need somebody to lean on. Now, I had a great conversation this morning. I was mostly listening because I wasn't feeling the best. But I listened in, and it was about reparations on a blog talk show. And again, the CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project told me about it. And as I listen in, there's a lot of stuff that makes a lot of sense. And I, as Big C Sports Podcast, I want to make sure that I do my own research to make sure that people can say, well, he's not just talking, he's actually leading us to sources of information where we can all figure out what's going on. And if the more we hear about it, the more we're going to do something about it and not just talk about it. And that's what I love about reparations. It's about putting pen to paper. We got to understand that pen to paper makes all the difference in the world. I'm going to have Reva Martin. She's an attorney, and she's going to talk about reparations and why it's so important.
Cash payments by themselves are enough. It's that cash payments is one way to recognize the harm that was done. And it's very interesting when you look at the Jesuit universities, 27 of them, and the work that they've done in this area. They've gone through this very, very exhaustive process to investigate their relationship to slavery. I mean, so much so that they hired genealogists to trace and to find the actual descendants of enslaved people. So, I mean, you have to think about how expansive and, intense and comprehensive this research was. But then you have to also ask yourself, how come these institutions with all of their resources never ever utilized an economist, a statistician, a labor expert to tell us the value of the wages and the wealth that they accumulated? It just looks like this big gaping hole. So I think the question should be reframed. How come the universities aren't sharing with the families the value of the labor and the value of the wealth that they've accumulated? So people are always asking descendants or survivors, why do you want money? And I think the question should be the opposite. How come you're not coming to us with money? When you think about the 9/11 victims or any victims of a disaster in this country, there's never ever a question about should we compensate them. That is a part of our civil, legal, judicial system. You have a harm, somebody else causes it, you are entitled to compensation. It's never ever challenged except in those examples where Black folks are involved. So I think we have to change the narrative around this question, and rather than, and not suggesting you're doing this, but oftentimes families or individuals who are seeking compensation are put on the defensive as if they've done something wrong. No fault of our own. We did nothing wrong. And if you worked for me, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, if you worked for me and I never paid you, you would have recourse. You would be able to go to a labor board. You'd be able to go into our courts and demand your labor be compensated. You'd be able to get penalties against me for not compensating you. You'd be able to get interest on those wages that I didn't pay you. So again, this isn't like new to capitalism. This is how our country is built. This is how we operate today. You work, I pay. Let's be clear. So our request in terms of compensation restitution is not the total amount that was calculated. We calculated that amount because we felt like it needed to be a part of the conversation. It's on the table. We're not asking them for $74 billion. We're asking them to consider the value of that slave labor in the same way they are considering other aspects of their relationship with enslaved people. What we hope to get out of it is, first, that descendants are literally put back on this committee, that this is no longer a university exclusive committee, that the descendants are there at the table, that they commit to a timeline. Loyola University of Maryland went through this process and wrapped their work up in 2 years. So you can Google them and see what they've done in 2 years. We're into year 5. And we've not even sat down and talked about a plan. So we also hope that there's a commitment to wrap this work up in some foreseeable future, 6 months, 12 months, that it not just go on indefinitely. And then we are asking that the plan that is developed includes not only some of the things that we see in this work, monuments, things that give attribution to those who helped build this university, curriculum changes, projects that help the community. One thing we realized, so many people in St. Louis is a small city, 300,000 people. I live in Los Angeles now. They're like, 12 million people where I live. So few people had even heard of this work. So another part of what we're hoping that comes out of this is some resources spent educating people about this work, because people in that very community don't know. And then, of course, some kind of financial restitution for the labor, for the wages that have been uncompensated for this period of time.
May lightning strike in your life. I love saying that because it's so powerful. When we think about reparations, that's civil rights attorney Areva Martin, and she discussed reparations on actually Fox News, and that's just here in April, just back in April. So no matter what people think, I hope that we all can figure out it takes good people. Are you good or bad? It takes decent people. Are you decent or not decent? It takes fair people. Are you fair or not fair? But not only that, it takes the pen to the paper. It's legislation. Everything that's done in this country has been done by paper. Every amendment in the Constitution, it's all pen to paper. So our legal minds have to put pen to paper. I know people get emotional about talking about reparations, especially those who feel like they've been wrong. and I'm one of them. I'm more stoic. I control my emotions for the most part. But there are a lot of people, they wear their emotions on their sleeves, and there's nothing wrong with that. However you feel is how you feel. But let's at least get people who believe that doing the right thing is the right thing. I'm going to have you hear the greatest speaker in the history of the country talk about reparations before we get into sports.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
In your life, get the whole yes! See, I love sports and I love reparations. Reparations is just like anything else. It means to repair. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I want to get into you give me some praise for that. I say give me some praise. I want to get into some NBA basketball where the LA Lakers, they decided to release their basketball coach, Marvin Ham. And Marvin Ham, his seasons came to an end the last 2 years because last year he lost to the NBA champion, the Denver Nuggets. And so right now they're the reigning NBA champion, Denver Nuggets. No guarantee that they're going to repeat. But if you look at who Denver has defeated in their playoff games, everybody in their playoff series. So the Lakers, and again, they can do what they want to do. It's their checkbook. They do what they want to do it. But the Lakers fired coach Darvin Ham today after 2 seasons. And then the team will now open up a job search in hopes of finding the right person to maximize the figures to be in the final chapter of LeBron James' storied NBA career. LeBron, the all-time NBA scorer, and returning to championship contention. But it wasn't, in my opinion, Coach Ham that had the Lakers lose to Denver. Denver's just a better team. And they proved that by beating everybody they played a series against in the last 2 years. We'll see what happens when they start against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But when you think about a Ham who had 2 years remaining on his contract, he was 90 wins and 74 losses. During the regular season, he was 9-12. But think about of those 12 losses, 4 came to Denver, the NBA champion. And this not include his 2 play-in tournament wins since being fired to replace Frank Vogel in 2022. He also guided the LA Lakers to the inaugural in-season tournament title in Las Vegas, and that was in December. So the decision came just days after the Lakers were eliminated by the world champion Denver Nuggets for the second straight season. Of course, a lot of people that play Denver are going to get eliminated. And this time in 5 games. Last year they got swept, but last year they made the Western Conference Finals. So when you think about being swept by Denver in the conference finals last year, Denver also knocked out the Miami Heat. I think it was 4 games to 1. They beaten everybody. So while people say they greatly appreciate Darvin Ham's efforts on behalf of the Lakers and recognize that the many accomplishments achieved over the past 2 seasons include last year's remarkable run to the Western Conference Finals, but you got to keep in mind too, when you coach the LA Lakers, you have a team that's won more championships than anybody. They're tied with the Boston Celtics. They have 17 championships going on 18 when they get their next one. I think Boston most likely will play Denver this year. That's just my opinion. But when you think about what they've done in the last 2 years, Denver's amazing. So why lose when you lose to the best team in the NBA because you're playing the best team in the NBA? Why would that cost you your job? I don't understand that part with the Lakers. Sometimes it's about personality, but when you think about the Western Conference Finals, Rob Pelinka, the Lakers vice president of basketball operations and general manager, said in a statement that we all want to thank Darvin for his dedication and his positivity. While this decision was difficult, it's the best course of action following a year in review of what happened on the team. But the Lakers organization, they got to keep Anthony Davis healthy, because if you don't keep him healthy, it doesn't matter what coach you bring in. And that's a fact. LeBron maybe has another year or 2 in the Lakers purple and gold, but the organization will remain unwavering in its commitment to deliver championship caliber basketball to the LA Lakers fans. When you go into the LA Basin, you have the Lakers, you have the Clippers, you have the Dodgers, you have the Rams and the Chargers, you have the LA Kings, you have even if you want to say the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the Lakers are the top ticket in Los Angeles, even more than Dodgers. LA Dodgers are amazing. I believe 11 of the last 12 National League West titles. But the Lakers, they are LA. Whether it's Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, James Worthy. You got to look at Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. And at the same time, LeBron James has scored more points than all of them. Even though Kareem has more 2-point points scored, LeBron has shot a lot of threes over his career. Kareem only shot 1. But you have with the Laker organization, you have so many great players that have come through that organization. It's easy to look at a coach and blame the coach. But so after firing Ham, the Lakers dismissed the entire coaching staff, and included in the group was Phil Handy, who was an assistant under both Ham and Frank Vogel in Los Angeles, and also was an assistant with the Cleveland Cavaliers during LeBron James' second stint with the franchise. Now, despite 71 games, think about this. James played 71 games, and Anthony, he played, it made like a strike. He played 76 games. And when you have an 82-game season, you got to keep the players healthy. Anthony Davis has a hard time staying healthy. No matter what they do with the next coach they bring in, if you can't keep him up, it's going to be challenging to get back to the mountaintop. At the same time, they just had the bad luck of playing Denver, because I think the Lakers could have beaten OKC, which they had proven that at the end of the regular season. They could have beaten New Orleans. They could have beaten, in my opinion, they could have beaten the Minnesota Timberwolves. They could have beaten a lot of teams. But they didn't get that chance because they had to go as a number 7 seed, and they ended up playing the defending NBA champions. And when you think about how good Denver is with Jamal Murray and Gordon and the Joker, it's going to be hard for anyone to beat them. So when you think of the conference showdown with the number 2 seed Nuggets, and even in their number 2 seed, but they're tied with OKC, Denver's a better team than Oklahoma. They just are, and the playoffs will prove that if they meet. So the Lakers failed to protect the double-digit lead in all 4 of their losses in the series, including a 20-point second-half lead in Game 2. It's a great year for Denver, and it's been good for the Lakers the last 2 years. Ham said that after he was and LA was eliminated Monday, but sitting in his seat, it's been a heck of a year the last 2 years. A lot of good things happened, but ultimately they signed him for 4 years. They let him go in 2 after making the playoffs. So Ham inherited a Lakers team coming off of one of the most disappointing seasons in the history of the franchise when it went 33-49 in the 2021-2022 season. And it failed to qualify for the postseason after it traded several role players who were vital to LA's 2020 title run. Russell Westbrook is one of them, now playing for the LA Clippers. So Los Angeles started off 2-10 in Ham's first season, and the roster was completely overhauled in a series of moves leading up to the trade deadline. And then the team parted ways with Russell Westbrook, and then they retooled with D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt, and then Rui Hachimura to complete holdovers, James Davis and Austin Reeves. Now, if you look at what he inherited, he had success. But they're looking for this new Phil Jackson, it seems, in Los Angeles. So that team beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in a play-in tournament to earn the number 7 seed and went on to upset the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies and number 6 seed Golden State Warriors before falling to the top seed Denver Nuggets. Now, Denver went on to win his first championship in franchise history. This season, the Lakers had an underwhelming start once again by going 3-5, and then they stumbled to a 4-11 stretch following the in-season tournament title, dropping them to number 13 in the West. In mid-January, LA rallied to finish the season at 23-10, the 5th best record in the league from February 1 through mid-April, and beat the New Orleans Pelicans in the play-in tournament and earned the number 7 seed again. You're talking about a coach that's won, inherited a losing franchise, and he's won. But it wasn't enough. Last year, the Nuggets swept the Lakers in the playoffs and outscored them by 24 points in their 4 wins. And this time around, it took Denver 5 games, and the combined margin of victory was 22 points in 4 wins. The Lakers are right there. To me, to let Ham go when he inherited a losing franchise, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, lightning strike! What are they going to find now? They had a coach that took them to the Western Finals last year, and because of injuries, they weren't able to get everything that they needed done. But they can do what they want to do. Pelinka can do his thing. He has the power to do that with the LA organization. And also in the same city of Los Angeles, the Clippers waiting for their new arena to be built soon. And they're planning to pursue a contract extension with Coach Tyronn Lue that will allow him to avoid entering the final year of his deal in 2025, 2026. So Coach Lue, he's expected to be a target in the Los Angeles Lakers coaching search, but I think that deal's going to be done. He's going to stay, from what I understand, he's going to stay with the LA Clippers, because the Lakers, if you don't win like right away, they look for somebody else. I thought they should have kept Ham and given him time to build that chemistry, but it wasn't Ham that couldn't play in a series in the third quarter. It was Anthony Davis. It wasn't Ham. I mean, there's always someone to blame. But why would you fire a coach that got you 2 winning seasons after you were in the abyss the year before? And so back to LA, the Clippers are trailing the Dallas Mavericks 3-2, and they're in the Western Conference first round playoff series, and that game already tipped off 6:30 p.m. West Coast time. It's on ESPN. The outcome of the postseason has no bearing on the Clippers' desire to keep Lue, but I'm telling you, Lue's a great coach too. And that's why if you are the LA Clippers, you want to keep them, and don't let it get sucked into going across town and playing for the Lakers that like to fire coaches who have winning seasons. That doesn't make any sense to me. But they decided to do it. So when you think of Tyronn Lue, he's the franchise's long-term coach. LA was 51-31 and the 4th seed in the Western Conference this season. So he's going to be there for a while. They're going to keep him. Ballmer, I think, is going to keep Lue. He has a big enough paycheck to do that. The Clippers have been without all-NBA forward Kawhi Leonard for most of the series with right knee inflammation, but the organization's goal remains to re-sign free agent Paul George and James Harden alongside with Leonard. And the Lakers offered Lue their head coaching job in 2019, but he turned it down when the sides could not agree on the terms. And after a year on Doc Rivers, the Clippers staff that season, Lue ascended to the head coaching job and led the Clippers to the franchise's first Western Conference Finals berth in 2021-22. So Lue's fine staying with the Clippers. There's more pressure to win when you are coaching the LA Lakers. It just is, because of the history of championships, and it's always going to be more pressure. You don't have as much pressure if you're coaching the Clippers. Now, you look at the Clippers, who've suffered through some numerous injuries to star players in Tyronn Lue's tenure, have advanced to the playoffs in each of the past 2 seasons, and the team has the NBA's 6th best record since 2020 and 2021 under coach Tyronn Lue at 184 wins, 134 losses. So he's done his thing with the Clippers. Now, Lue spent much of his Clippers tenure adapting different lineups and schemes to work around injuries to his stars. In this season, Coach Lue has had to adjust a week into the regular season when the Clippers traded for James Harden just 3 games into the season. After that trade, the Clippers lose 6 straight games, including 5 with Harden in the lineup. But after Russell Westbrook moved to the bench, Lue and the Clippers turned their season around. At one point, they went on a 26-5 tear to stand atop the Western Conference standings, and that was back in February 6th. And then Coach Lue earned Western Conference Coach of the Month honors for December and January. And Lue had to adapt again in April when Kawhi Leonard missed the final 8 games of the regular season with inflammation in his right knee. And then Leonard missed Game 1 before returning for Games 2 and 3. But his surgically repaired knee did not respond the way he had hoped it would respond, and the team kept his stars out of action ever since then. Now, Tyronn Lue has won an NBA championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016. And when you think about overall, he has 312 wins, 217 losses overall in the regular season. And he's 52-33 in the playoffs. So he's the right guy for the job in Los Angeles, but that's for the Los Angeles Clippers. You can't please the Lakers fans. It's either championship or bust. They've won so many of them over the last 50 years. You got to realize it's a hot seat when you get into it. And when you think about who's going to be the best coach for the Lakers, if you look at the list of current NBA head coaches, I would hope they would champion reparations the same way they champion end racism and Black Lives Matter. But I'm going to run down a couple of top coaches, and they can look from sea to shining sea. But when you think about hiring coaches in the league has 30 teams, of which 29 are located in the United States, 1 in Canada. And in the NBA, a head coach is the highest-ranking coach on a coaching staff, Greg Popovich. He served as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs for 28 years. No other current NBA head coach has been head coach under his current team as long as Popovich, and has been head coach of the Spurs. And he's also coached more games at 2,209 and won more games at 1,388 and lost more games at 812, actually 821 than any other active head coach. When you think about it, with his current team, the Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra is the second longest tenured NBA head coach, having been head coach of the Heat since the 2008-2009 season. And then you look at Coach Pop is the only active head coach inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as a coach. He's the only current head coach to have been hired by his current team in the 1990s. That's longevity. You're not going to get that in Los Angeles. As of May 2024, 14 coaches have spent their entire NBA head coaching careers with their current teams. That's Greg Popovich. Wouldn't have been great if he was a Laker head coach. He's with the San Antonio Spurs. And then you have Eric Spoelstra with the Miami Heat. How about the great Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors? Have they done something great in the last decade? You know they have. The best team in the last decade, you would say, the Golden State Warriors. But they also have some things to answer and some changes to their roster they have to make. But getting rid of Coach Kerr is not one of them. You have Taylor Jenkins with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's done a great job. Mark Daigneault with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Finch with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Will Hardy with the Utah Jazz. Chauncey Billups with the Portland Trail Blazers. Jamal Mosley with the Orlando Magic. Brian Keefe with the Washington Wizards. You have Willie Green with the New Orleans Pelicans. Joe Mazzulla with the Boston Celtics. You have Darko Rakovic with the Toronto Raptors. Jordan Fernandez with the Brooklyn Nets. So when I think about coaches and they want to let go of Darvin Ham, who are you going to find that's any better? Popovich, Spoelstra, Kerr, and Michael Malone have won NBA championships with their current teams, while Rick Carlisle, Tyronn Lue, Nick Nurse, and Frank Vogel, as well as Doc Rivers, have won championships with their former teams. It's hard to find coaches who are going to come right in and win you a championship. So the Lakers letting go of Tyronn Lue, all they're doing now is searching for another head coach. But if you can't stay healthy, it doesn't matter who you are. Imagine how great Coach Greg Popovich has been. He's coached the San Antonio Spurs for 28 years. Of course, when you have Tim Duncan, it's going to help you. When you have the Admiral David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, they had Tony Parker. They had so many great players. But when those players get old and they move on or retire, it doesn't matter what coach you have. It's a player league. It's a player league, always has been. And I would have loved to see Ham have the chance to run his 4-year contract with the LA Lakers. But sometimes if you want personalities that you get along with, not that no one got along with them, but you can always let the players come in and decide who they want to coach them. That's happened in many places in the NBA. But the players are the ones that win the games. It's not the coach that wins the games. How great was Phil Jackson? He looked pretty good when he had Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in your life. Get the hole. Michael Jordan for 3. Bang! And they had the great Scottie Pippen. It's easy to win when you have those great players. And then they brought in Dennis Rodman. It helped them win. They even won with Luke Longley. And then when Phil Jackson came to the West Coast and he coached the Los Angeles Lakers, he had the great Shaquille O'Neal. He had the great Kobe Bryant. He had so many great players. Robert Horry was there, Big Shot Horry. A lot of great players that make things happen when you have that type of talent on the floor. And when you think about how great Phil Jackson was, could Tyronn Lue have won a championship if he had Shaquille O'Neal, if he had Kobe Bryant, Big Shot Bob Horry? He probably could have. Oftentimes we put so much pressure on a coach. It's the players, and players will tell you, no matter how great you are, it's the players that make a big difference. When LeBron James was in Cleveland and they got the one championship against the Golden State Warriors, it's about the players. Even down in Miami, when LeBron James went to Miami, you had Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, I like to call him Jesus Shuttleworth, Ray Allen. It's always about the players. Think about Pat Riley when he won in L.A. He had Kareem, he had Magic, he had Worthy, he had Byron Scott. He had so many players, Jamal Wilkes. He had so many great players in Los Angeles, and it makes it easier when you have great players on your team. And that's my story that I'm taking with it. So I'm an advocate that you let people play out their contract, especially if you just got knocked out by the defending NBA champion. In your life, get the hole, Jamal Murray for 3, yes! And I thought the Lakers would have done better to keep him and build in. They got to get another big player that can step in whenever Davis is too injured to keep his arms up in the air. I know he's a great player. Obviously, he's one of the top maybe 20 players in the league, but he also gets hurt as much as anybody. So what are you going to do? Bring in Coach Popovich? If you got players that are injured, what are you going to do? Who are you going to blame? Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I would have thought that they would have given him more time. I know it's a big business, and there are even people in Sacramento saying that Mike Brown would be a great coach for the LA Lakers, and he would. But at the same time, he's trying to build up with the Sacramento Kings. Of course, Steve Kerr would have been a great coach down in Los Angeles. There's talk that maybe even Kevin Durant might rejoin the Golden State Warriors. If he does, that's great, because you still got to have Steph Curry. But that would change with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Something's got to give if you bring Durant back in town. But that's what they say. Steph Curry for 3, yes! In your life, get the hole, bang! Well, that's my story, and I'm taking with it. I wanna bring you to a horse. Once there was a horse by the name of Kentucky Derby, and he liked to run around on the dirt and sometime in the mud. In 2024, the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby, and another long shot like Rich Strike. When Rich Strike won it in 2022, he shocked the world. But they have the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby, and I'm telling you, it takes place Saturday, Churchill's Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. And will we see another epic finish like the one in 2022 when Rich Strike in your life, get the hole? I like to see when horses get in the hole. But Rich Strike took the crown at 80-1 odds. He was the second biggest underdog in history to win alongside Duranelli at 91-1 odds in 1913. So all's fair in love and war. NBC Sports will provide coverage of 15 races starting Friday and taking you all the way up to the Derby for the following night. It's a big event. A lot of people like to get dressed up. It takes place where the horses will start running around the mountain. Like lightning, they're going to run so fast. Saturday, May 4th, live coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and post times for the Kentucky Derby, 6:57 p.m. Eastern Time, and Churchill Downs and Louisville, Kentucky. The network is NBC Sports, also streaming on Peacock, NBCSports.com, and the NBC Sports app. Now, when you think about who, there's 23-year-old horses. The purse is $5 million. They're only going to run a 1.25 mile. The forecast is saying 79 degrees with a 35% chance of rain. May lightning not strike. We don't want lightning striking to scare the horses. But I look forward to seeing who's going to win this thing. We have some jockeys in position. The trainer is D. Gargan. Jockey El Sayed's notable race won the Fountain Youth Stakes, and what the know likes early speed and will need it. Sierra Leone 4-1 odds, and the trainer is C. Brown. And notable race results won the Bluegrass Stakes at the Rising Star, and what to know the top closer in the field, Mystic Dan, not Lieutenant Dan from, I believe the movie was it Dumb and Dumber? Lieutenant Dan? No, that was Pulp Fiction. Not Pulp Fiction. That was the one, Lieutenant Dan. Something about Bumblegup's shrimp. You know which one it was. He ate a lot of shrimp like I ate a lot of shrimp the other night too. Mystic Dan, he's 20-1. And the trainer is K. McKee and jockey B. Hernandez Jr. The notable race results finished third in the Arkansas Derby. And what to know, he won the Southwest on a messy track. All's fair in love and war. Here's one for you fishers out there. Catching Freedom. I said free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty. We're free at last. Make reparations pass. When you have a horse by the name of Catching Freedom, he's 8-1 odds. His trainer is B. Cox. The jockey is F. Pratt. Notable races won the Louisiana Derby. What to know, this colt keeps getting better and better and better. Like my belly with that Pepto-Bismol is starting to feel better. Also, Catalytic, he's 30-1. The trainer is Joseph Jr. and trainer Jay Ortiz. Notable race results finished second in the Florida Derby. What to know, 10 Derby winners since 1930 from the number 5 post. In your life, get the hole, yes! We'll see what happens. How about Justin Steele? He's 20-1 odds. The trainer is D. Lucas. The jockey is K. Asmussen. Notable race results. Finished second in the Arkansas Derby. What to know? More races, meaning 11, than any other horse in the field. How about Anna Marie? He's 20-1 in your life. Get the hole. Trainer D. Beckman and jockey B. Curtis. Notable races. Finished second in the Louisiana Derby. What to know? A 2-time winner at Churchill Downs as a 2-year-old. All's fair and level. There's a lot of great things going on in the world of horse racing and jockeying coming around that back nine. So a mile and a quarter is a lot. $5 million purse. Hopefully the weather holds up nice. It's all fair and level. I want to see good race. And the horses, obviously they want to get some oats when it's done. The winner gets $5 million. And the horse gets a bucket of oats. Just when you think about a bucket of oats, if you put a little brown sugar on it and some butter, it can taste good. With some oatmeal, that's my story and I'm taking with it. Well, as I always tell you, I love sports. Sports is a $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is a foundation to this $1 billion industry. And I hope that we can all keep in mind that reparations is the right thing to do. We want people who want to do the right thing in this country. May lightning strike if you don't want to do the right thing. How can anyone argue that reparations is not good? It will stimulate the economy. It takes a lot of money to go to the Kentucky Derby. And down there in the deep south, a lot of people know how they got the land. They got the land through slavery. And also the Homestead Act that gave white Americans 300 million acres of land from 1862 to 65 when they passed that. some of that money's still in those families to this day. And that's a fact. I just hope that we can all put our heads around putting the pen to paper. And when we put pen to paper, it takes all people, good people. People say it's about black and white. No, slavery was about black and white. But reparations is about doing right. Doing the right thing. And not saying, oh, that's divisive. All you got to do is have good minds together, some good legal scholars that can put pen to paper. I had one of the best, Areva Martin, that spoke on the program. And also we heard what Dr. King talked about. As we get ready to watch these games and we want to see horses run around the track, let's do the same thing for reparations. It's televised. You know, they televise. I think the task force should be televised. Even though they're waiting for the solution, I think there's 14 bills that have been passed through to be looked at, voted on. Well, I just hope that brighter minds prevail and that we have the best outcome for the dialogue and that we get it done. We got it done for the country. Got it done. Germany. For descendants of Holocaust, they got their reparations. They're not still debating it. Japanese Americans interned after World War II in the United States, they got their reparations. They're no longer debating it. They're not debating it. Native Americans getting their land back. It's no longer a debate. We do know that the Homestead Act, it excluded black Americans. That was divisive. The GI Bill, that excluded black soldiers coming home from the war. It gave everything to white people. That was divisive. Reparations is not divisive. It's not. Let's just do the right thing. If you believe they're doing the right thing, do the right thing. If that makes sense to you. Again, as I mentioned, Kentucky Derby starts on Saturday. And at Churchill Downs, got NBA basketball tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers already underway. In Orlando taking on the Magic. And the Los Angeles Clippers. And Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas leads the series 3-2. And Cleveland leads that series 3-2. I think Cleveland will advance. And I think the Mavericks will advance. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says, as I say, I love praising my family legacy. My great-grandmother called her Mamo. My great-grandfather called him Pop. My grandmother called her Mudia. My grandfather called him Hezekiah. I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys, a Little League baseball team, to the championship of the universe. Always seeing rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. And then on my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor, he had 3 churches actually, and 2 gas stations, working side by side with him. My grandmother with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations. They also owned 40 acres of land. I was walking through a hallway, 8 years old, and one night, about 10 o'clock at night, she said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, I'm going to get my reparations. And so cookies won't hurt. But she said there's something about your voice I love to hear you speak. And now I'm on 29 podcast platforms and on 4 TV platforms streaming. I love her with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic. Always making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying go forward. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when time to speak. Always saying go forward, ever gracious reader. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul, Todd. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors. In 3.5 years from a major university. You can be anything you want to be, Daisy. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the country that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm, I love you. Always trust God. You can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats on the Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" I've been Googling ever since. A light bulb went off. And then one day Malcolm said, "Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Michael, you could be anything you want to be. Always trust God. I love you with all I have. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. As we nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts, which is pretty obvious. I have no 3-bit teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do it all with my pineal gland, that unconscious, that gift of nature. I was told there's a gland in the brain called the pineal gland. Some people call it the third eye. And I'm asking God to use that third eye to make my stomach feel better, if that makes sense to you. Well, I want to say, as I always do on every show, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. If somebody's smacking you, call 911. If somebody's kicking you, call 911. If someone's choking you out, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to say back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. Well, I'm gonna end today's show by doing what I always do. Let's put reparations pen to paper. Let's honor what President Abraham Lincoln told us to do back in the day. He said, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, you cheer louder for the Kentucky Derby. What did President Lincoln tell us to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Say it like you just won the Kentucky Derby. He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.